And I would like to welcome to District 71 tonight somebody who is a friend of District 71. Paola has delivered many presentations, mostly around social media, Facebook, that sort of thing, and presentations. I think what she's got to offer tonight is going to be particularly exciting because it's going to look at how we can enhance our presentations by using Z and F principles. Now, I don't know what that's all about, so I'm particularly interested tonight to find out. Paola, I've got my notebook and my pen. I know it's been recorded, but I like to put ideas down when I can. And I'd like to welcome you all tonight to this. I think we're all going to really benefit from this. I'd also like to welcome particularly Gerard Mannix, a previous district director, to the call. So welcome, Gerard. So without me waffling on anymore, we've got precious time, which we will hand over to Paola. So please help me welcome Paola to the stage. Off you go, Paola.
Ooh, thank you so much, Danny, for your warm introduction, and hello, everyone, for being here tonight. I have a couple of questions for you to start off with. I have an easy question and I have a hard question. So I'm going to start with the easy one. And that is, I see there's enough people with their video on. Please raise your hand if you create posters either on Canva or on any other platform, graphical platform. How many? Okay, quite a few. So I have a bonus second easy question. And that is, how long does it take you to create a poster, a new design from scratch? And I don't mean just to work on something you already have ready, but something from scratch. How long does it take you? Let's say 10 minutes. Okay, somebody. Half an hour. Yeah. What about an hour or more? Yeah, me too. Me too. And I mean, when I create something from scratch, especially if it's going to be a template, I can take even 2 hours, 3 hours. That's a long time. And now the hard question. It's a hard question not because it's hard to know the answer, but it's because the answer is hard to take. Here it is. According to Facebook, how much time do average users spend on one piece of content, on one post? Don't go looking on the internet, just write it in the chat. How long do people, when you're scrolling through their feed, how long will they stop and look at your poster? Anyone?
Few seconds.
30 seconds, okay. 5 minutes. Anyone else? 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds. I saw 2 seconds. Okay, that's it. 2 seconds. That's how long people will stop and look at your work. I told you it was hard to take. For me, it is, because we spend so much time. We put in so much effort, and then people will just look at it very, very quickly. But tonight, I am going to share with you some knowledge, some principles, and some tips to help you create content that is going to stop them from scrolling. Are you ready? Okay. There's going to be several sections to this presentation tonight. And I know, Danny, that you have all your pen and paper ready, but I would ask you to please don't take notes, just follow me along, because one section will feed into the next. It's going to be recorded, so then you can refer back to this, okay? We're going to start with 2 principles. One is a marketing principle, and the other one is a design principle. I am putting these 2 principles first because that's where they belong. And especially the marketing principle is really something that you cannot miss. The reason for that being is that no matter how, if you miss this one, no matter how good looking your posters are, no matter how technically perfect they may be, they're not going to work. I'm going to share with you what it is now. Okay. Do you see it?
Yes.
Do you see the, okay, perfect. The first marketing principle that I'm going to share tonight is personal relevance. So what is personal relevance? Personal relevance is putting our audience first. Whenever we create a piece of content, our focus needs to be on the audience, not on ourselves. It may seem like an obvious thing, but it's not as obvious. I mean, I don't see it put into practice that much. For instance, when we create a post for our upcoming meeting, for our club's meetings, I see a lot of clubs that create posts about their meeting, and they invite audience to their meeting, but they say, this is us, this is what we do come visit us. The focus is not on the audience, the focus is on themselves. Let me give you an example here of what I would do if I were to create posters for upcoming meetings. Well, first of all, I would focus on my audience and let me see if it moves. Okay. Focus on my audience and start brainstorming. What could a person who's interested in Toastmasters be interested in? What could their focus be? I could come up with something like maybe they need to improve their connection with the audience when they're presenting. Maybe they need to look better on stage, or perhaps they need to learn a skill or two about diffusing conflict at the office. In that case, I would focus on these and create posters like these. As you can see, they focus on those needs. To me, these would be posters that I use for an upcoming meeting. I would say, do you want to inspire your audience? If your public's concern could be that of creating inspiration in their audience, they would say, yes, how can I do that? And then they find your club, because then in the caption, you would say, come visit us. We meet on such and such a date. There is no need to put all that information on the graphic part. That can go in the caption. Is this clear enough? We can move on to the second principle then. And this is design principles. Visual content. This is really our superpower when we create posters. The right kind of visuals. They can be pictures, they can be videos. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. But in fact, research has shown something different. And that is that an image, our brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text. 60,000 times faster than text. So that really is a superpower. When we only have a couple of seconds to attract attention, we want to do it with an image, because it's going to be like that, immediate. Tips number one about images is that we need to use professional images, whether they are our own or they are the ones that we find online. Pictures need to be high quality, and they need to have a bright contrast. They need to really show a strong contrast. Muted colors, those beautiful sepia colors, are not going to cut it. If you are to attract attention, you really need to have good contrast. Tip number 2. Human faces, and especially eye contact. This is a huge one. Did you know that in our brain, there are 2 spots? They sit here on the back side of our brain, of our head. And these spots, they are solely to recognize human faces. That's all they do. And we start to develop them very fast as babies. If you know babies, within a couple of months, they will react to mothers' faces. They will smile. They're caretakers. So this is something which is inborn, and we're never going to lose it. We are going to be attracted by human faces, and we're going to be attracted by direct eye contact. This is great to know if we want to attract attention, right? So whenever it's possible, whenever it is convenient, or anyway, it's possible, please do use face. Use people's faces, and especially those images where a person is looking straight at the person, out, that makes eye contact to the viewer. Because it's going to be instinctive for people to see that image and stop. This is how we're wired. Tip number 3, storytelling. Use images that tell a story. Now, look at this. We're talking here about a difficult audience, and we got a student there. And look who's in the background. I am sure that if we opened up all the microphones and you could do a table topic here on these images alone, we would be hard pressed to find the winner, because, I mean, everybody would be a winner tonight, because it really is something that is in most of us history. We all can remember back a teacher like that, or a situation where we weren't ready and we felt we had a difficult audience. So images can really tell stories, and they can elicit emotions. And you know that emotions are immediate. They are not reasoned out. They just happen. So again, images are extremely important. They need to be top images. I mean, by top, I mean high quality images. They need to have good bright contrast. Use human faces whenever possible, and especially direct gaze. And also use your images for storytelling, because those are all very powerful means and tools that you can use in your designs. Let's move on to the next section now. We are going to look at a poster and see how we can improve it together. Here it is. One of my hobbies is to go around online in the Toastmasters communities worldwide and have a look at posters. I like it. It's just like a hobby for me. And a lot of the times, not always, but some of the times, and quite often, I come across posters that look something like this one, which I have created, by the way, but to kind of sum up the types of posters that I see. As you can see, the design here is quite confused. It's not very clear. There is no clear structure. The contrast is poor. It's hard to read. Let's not forget that people will look at this for a couple of seconds. There's no way that they can make sense out of this in a couple of seconds. The picture is too small, so it's not really impactful. And also, there are some unnecessary items, like, for instance, the QR code. I see lots of QR codes out there. QR codes are extremely useful when it comes to printed material, because people can just take their phone, scan it, and immediately be taken wherever you want them to go. However, we have to keep in mind that 9 people out of 10 will look at their social media content through a mobile. That means that that QR code there is going to appear on their mobile screen. There's nothing they can do with it. So as much as a QR code is useful in printed material, it's really not that much of any use in material that will be seen online and especially through a telephone. So you can make better use of your space since it's a limited little tiny space without using unnecessary items. Now, I have created, this poster is about, it's a meeting poster, okay? I'm going to create a different one. I'm going to show you a different one, and we're going to go through it step by step to see why it's better than the first one. What are the elements that make it better? Here it is. Of course, an example. There could be many, many more. As you can see, I have definitely cut down on the amount of text. I have organized it in chunks, and there is a big picture. Since it's a meeting, there is the picture of one meeting, because that is going to be a support. It's going to support the content of the post itself. Now we'll go step by step through this, and I will show you the different elements. Please take a second, read this. Chances are that you read it in the order that I have provided. So you start reading at the top, you read this first, then you move down to the next, and then to the right, and then down to the bottom. Some of you might have chosen a different order, but on average, this is how people will read this. We will going to go into the reading patterns in a moment, but for now, please just trust me and believe in me. This is how people would read, on average, would read this poster. Knowing that, where would you put the most important element, your key message? Anyone? I don't see the chat, so just unmute yourself and say it. Where would you put it?
The very top.
Yes.
Can I ask, is this poster done in PowerPoint?
No, these posters are done in Canva and then transferred to PowerPoint.
Oh.
Okay, so you are correct. Of course, the key message goes where people look at first, because everybody's going to look at there first. Next, what we want is to use very little text. We have to really cut down on text if we want to be clear, because remember, always keep in mind those 2 seconds. People need to make sense of at least the key message in very, very quickly. We need to use concise, simple language, and of course, we need to use the right image. By right image, I mean an image that will support or give context to the final goal of your post. So if we're talking about a meeting, we would have people at a meeting. Sometimes people ask me, how about our own meetings pictures? Those are fantastic, of course, especially on social media, but they do need to be good quality. It depends on the post. If you are having maybe a post where you show what happened at your meeting, it's not so important to have high quality pictures. However, if you're going to create a poster like this, which is an invitation to the general public, well then, yes, there the image needs to be top quality. If you don't have it, of your meeting, then maybe you might want to use a stock image, like in this case. We're now going to move to the next section, which is about how do people read a page. Remember that poster I showed you when I said you read this first and then that, and then next you read that. It comes from here, from a ton of research, which has been done over about 2 decades about how people use their user experience when they read pages. And there's been one company in particular, which is called Nielsen Norman Group. They are world leaders in research-based user experience. They have had a bunch of volunteers over 2 decades, lots of them. They have provided text of all kinds, online text especially, and they've asked them to find information. And then through very sophisticated machinery, they have tracked their eyeballs. See where they look to find that information, where they look to scan the page. And they have come up with this. These are what they're called heat maps. You can see here, these are pages, regular online pages. And then you see that there are red blotches, there are yellow parts, there are orange parts, and then there's those blue parts. Well, since it's a heat map, where it's red, it's hot. That's where everybody, when they land on that page, when they're looking, they're scanning to find information, that's where they look. And then it goes to orange, a little bit less, and then to yellow. And then, of course, the blue is the least popular. There are still people who would get down to those blue areas, but the most people will definitely focus on the red and orange areas. Now, if you were to publish something very important, a very important piece of information, where would you put it? Anyone? Well, definitely, you would place it where it's red, because you're sure that somebody, and most people, will see it. Now, by studying these heat maps here, they have come up with reading patterns, several of them. Tonight, I am going to present 2 of them because, first of all, because they're the most popular, and also because they are the ones that the best serve us to create posters. The first one is the Z reading pattern. As you can see, it starts on the top left, it moves to the right, it goes down to the bottom left, and then moves to the bottom right. This Z pattern here comes from the way we are taught how to read in the Western countries. Of course, I am referring here only to Western countries because other cultures may have different reading patterns. When we're children, we're taught to start reading a page from the top left, read this sentence, moving to the right, and then going down to the left and then right again. The heat maps have also shown that there are 4 corners which are very hot. That's where everybody really stops and looks right there at those 4 corners. And this has been used a lot in web creation, web page creation. You will soon recognize it. In those corners, in a website, they put a logo right there on the left. They put the sign up button to the right of the page. Usually there is some sort of an image in the middle, which is called a hero image. It's just the image that will give context to the website. There is some helpful text, something that will explain what the page is about, or the content. And then there is a call to action placed on the bottom right. Those corners are very important, both for websites and we will see also for us. I'm now going to show you a website, a real one, and have a look if it fits the Z pattern. There you go. It's Toastmasters International website. Is it a Z pattern? Yes, it is. They use it. They have the logo on the left. They have a sign up button to the right. It's find a club and sign up for a meeting. That's the idea. There is that hero image in the middle. At the moment, it's the 100th anniversary. Usually, over time, there's always been some sort of a speaker in that area. Plus, there is some explanatory text there. And finally, there is a call to action at the bottom. Here it takes the whole line at the bottom, but the buttons are on the right, on the corner, right corner. It's search for world-class speakers for your next event. There's two buttons, one for accredited speakers and one for international champions, for world champions. So this is a Z pattern, how it's used for websites. Now let's have a look at a design that we would be using for our Facebook or Instagrams or LinkedIn. I've created these two, which are Z pattern, and I got inspired here by District 91 Thanks Toastmasters campaign. I believe it's brilliant. I really believe, I never told them, but I really believe it's brilliant. And the reason for that is that they use very little text, very targeted text. And not only that, but they use it in the past tense. As you can see, is I improved my confidence, thanks Toastmasters. I got everyone's attention, thanks Toastmasters. This is very important. It's not I will improve my confidence or I want to improve my confidence. It's I already did. So it's like a testimonial, really. And see, I've chosen here pictures that will support, that will give context and support that claim there. And it's so well designed because when you say I improved my confidence, in the person's mind comes a question, and that is, how did you do it? Especially if it's personally relevant to me and I want to also increase my confidence, or I want to get everybody's attention the next time I give a presentation at the office. It's just a second, but in the mind comes and it says, so, okay, so you did it. How did you do it? And since we know that people will read this way, where would they find the helpful answer there? Of course, the bottom left. It says, come visit us in our club. And then to the right, you would see the call to action, which in this case could be an email, like I put here, or it could be a phone number, or it could be your meetup address, your Eventbrite, whatever it is that you want people, the next step, the call to action, what you want people to do in order to find you. And of course, this also is a Z pattern. They're a little bit different. One is a full picture. The other one has its own space for picture, and it's very well, the areas, the text areas are very well defined, and the picture is in the middle. The other one is text over picture. Both of them work, and both of them use the Z pattern. It's easy, right? I think so. Now, let's move on to the next pattern. It's called the F pattern here. I use this a lot, and it's very easy to use in graphic design. As you can see, this is, in general, this is very much used when people scan an article. That could be a blog article. People start reading on top, and they read the first couple of sentences, and then they kind of skim through it to the bottom to see if it's interesting enough for them to go back and actually read it. So let's say that people don't just read this way, they scan information this way. But then if they want to read, of course, they will do it completely. The F pattern, when it's used in graphic design, has one spot where we want to put the call to action. And that is at point number 9, which is the bottom line at the end. Let me show you an example. Here it is. Again, it's taken from the campaign, the Thanks Toastmasters campaign. Here you can see the text is nicely in a column, put in a column, so that we guide our audience in reading very, very naturally. The call to action is at the bottom. It says, learn how at our club. And you would put your address and the meeting times, etc., right there. Again, in this case, it's a full picture in the poster, but I had to put a background box so that the text would be visible and it would have contrast. I chose not to completely cover the picture underneath of it because it gives this transparency. It gives enough background color to have contrast, but it still allows us to see through it. I find it a little bit more elegant that way. Now, a little test for you. Which of these two is a Z pattern? Number 1 to the left or number 2? Anyone? Please unmute yourself because I can't see the chat. Z pattern number? Sorry.
2. 2.
2. Yes, that's great. That's very easy. Once you learn to spot the pattern, it's so easy. And also it's very easy to reproduce it. You just remember, the most important parts are the angles. If you read through the brand manual, you know the Toastmaster asks us to use one of the angles to put the logo. Actually, they would ask us to put the logo on the top left, which would be spot number 1, or the bottom right. Yes, the bottom right. But any of the angles will actually do. The pictures are extremely important. They give context and they support the text. They are processed 60,000 times faster than whatever text you are writing. Keep text to a minimum, very simple, very effective. Well, you already spotted this. You did very well. Just in one or two answers, you got it already. Wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to another section now, which is about 3 steps to improvement. Here we are back to our sort of original type of poster, which is, of course, a confused designs, let's say, no clear structure. It has low contrast, too much information, and therefore it's hard to read. It's hard to make sense of it. In this case, the poster is about winning an argument. It's about a debating webinar. How could we improve this? Well, as we've seen already in the first one, is by cutting the text and creating some sort of reading order. Here is an example that I have done. As you can see here, I have chosen a big picture. The picture supports the idea of an argument because this guy there is definitely speaking with someone else. We don't know what's happening, but it gives us the idea that he may be debating or arguing or in any case discussing. So it supports the text. I have enclosed the text in an F pattern and I've used a frame around it to make it even more defined where the text is and easier then to follow along. I've cut down on the text. Do you want to win an argument? Which is a question in this case to attract the attention. Then I go into sharpen your reasoning and debating skills, tips and tactics of debating. So here are the benefits. Then I say where they can join us. In this case, I put Los Angeles and when. And then guests are always welcome, which is some useful information. Now, based on what you have already learned, what I have already explained earlier, we're now going to ask ourselves, how can we make it better? And now the floor is yours. How can you make it better? Any ideas?
Well, first the logo, I think it should be on the, maybe a different place than there.
Pardon me, I didn't understand the first part.
The logo seems to be not in the hotspot.
Okay, it's in a corner though.
It's in the corner, yes, and it has a really nice contrast, but stood out for me. Yeah.
Okay. It could be, we could switch around the image. Instead of putting it to the right, we could switch the image to the left, and therefore the logo could go to the left. Good observation. Okay.
If we look at the font, because I think I'm reading guests always welcome, I'm not reading do you want to win an argument? Just because of the font size.
Oh, the font size is too small?
No, I'm reading guests always welcome rather than do you want to win an argument? Because my eyes drawn to the biggest text.
Okay, wonderful. Good observation. Yes. So font size is extremely important. Font size, the bigger font should always be of the main subject or the main, our main message. Okay, correct. Anyone else?
Well, another
The call to
idea is
action could be, sorry. The call to action could be at the bottom. I think the focus here is on guests being welcome instead of joining us in Los Angeles. So if you move that down, just reorder the last two bits, that might actually make it a lot more relevant.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Very good observation. Anyone else? Any other ideas?
Doesn't say where in Los Angeles or what time.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Nope.
Absolutely. Even though at that point is that we do not need to say everything on the poster itself, because then we have a caption where if we're good enough to attract attention here, people will stop and read everything that is posted. So they will go into the caption and read all the details. Okay. But anyways, yes, you got it. Also, I did not complete that part. Yes. Anyone else?
also, I would like to say that maybe we don't need all the text, like sharpening your reasoning and debating skills, tips and tactics of debating. I would omit half of it. I would say tips and tactics of debating.
Okay, so you would shorten that text, use less words. Good. That's another good observation. Yes. Okay, I'm going to stop here because of the interest of time, because we have very interesting material coming up next. But I think I've heard ahead of time all of your observations, and this is what I did. I listened to you. I put the call to action at the bottom. I cut down the text about the benefits, and not only that, but I also put a white background and use the red color to really make them stand out. And about the title, I used the yellow together with the frame, because the yellow title together with the yellow frame really make it stand out. So thank you so much for suggesting all the changes. And now I have something to show you. Danny sent me a couple of posters that he has been working on in the past few months. And he said, well, then I would like to have some feedback. Here we are. Let's have a look at them and provide him with some feedback. This is poster number 1. This is about beating the clock. It's something that is recurrent in Toastmasters websites and in Toastmasters social media feeds because it happens every year. So it's something we're very familiar with. Now, Danny, I really love that hourglass because usually when I see the beat the clock posters there, I always see some sort of a clock or someone running with a clock, something like that. I never seen an hourglass. So this is very original. I like it. And besides, it's sitting on one side and allowing for the background, a large space in the background to give room for text. So this is a very, very good choice of picture. I like the colors. They work very well with Toastmasters logo, of course. And another good thing that I see here is that the beat the clock, which is really an attractive challenge, has a big font, has a big text. It stands out. It's up on top and it stands out. Now, what could be improved about this? Let me see what time it is. Well, since it's 2043, I think I will just go through it myself. I will not involve the audience, unfortunately. So what I would do here is I would work on the text because I really love the picture, the space and everything. So I would work on the text because the goal here would be to keep the text as visual as possible. You have done well in creating the big title. However, there's still lots to read. And what you have written here, I would take it exactly as it is and put it in the caption. Here, I would extract the main ideas, which are 3 here, basically. They are beat the clock by June 30th is idea number 1. Win 50 euros for your club, idea number 2, and add 5 members, which is idea number 3. Now, to make them visual, I'm going to show you because it's easier for me to show you than to explain in a very short amount of time, would look something like this. First of all, we would need to rank them because we need to find the idea that goes up on top. You put beat the clock, which is absolutely good. There is no hard and fast rule about ranking here because a lot depends on our audience and also on our cultural background. For example, in some cultures, winning 50 euros for their club could be a very high motivating thing. For other cultural environment, it could be the challenge that would really motivate people to get moving rather than the 50 euros. It really depends on the audience. So anything goes here. It really depends on you and your audience. I have chosen the win 50 euros for your club. Just because I believe that in my area, this would work. And then by visual, I mean, I used the backgrounds in different colors to create different spaces, visual spaces for the 3 concepts. So we say the same thing, but we make it so much easier to read. And one thing leads to the next. It says, win 50 euros for your club. How am I going to do it? You need to beat the clock by June 30th. And what do I need to do? Add 5 members, new, reinstated, or dual. So we say the same thing, but in a more visual way. Now about the logo. Sometimes the logo is big, like it takes up a lot of space. It depends on what we are working here with. But Toastmasters International really gives us a lot of leeway here because we have so much that we can use. We have different types of logos, different colors, and then we also have word marks. I don't see people using word marks that much, and instead I find them extremely useful and also very elegant. especially this one, the Toastmasters International, since 1924. Since 1924, because in just 4 words, it tells a whole story. Again, we'll go back to storytelling. I mean, Toastmasters has been around for 100 years. How many of its competitors can say the same? And it's all spelled out in that little word mark. And we have lots of word marks in different colors that we can use. They use up less space, by the way, which can be also very useful when we are working with small posters like these. We have a second poster here to give an evaluation about. This is a very interesting one because in Toastmasters communities, we have a lot of recurring events. It can be, like in this case, D71 Wednesday webinars, which happen obviously every Wednesday, or it can be our club's meetings, which happen either every week or every other week. So it's a recurring thing. When we are creating a poster for a recurring event, our goal here is to create a balance between that which remains constant versus that which is the part which is new. Obviously, what remains constant in this case is the Wednesday webinars. Every Wednesday, D71 has a webinar. It's a background organization. It's a background information. And then we have the new part, which is the speaker and the subject, which change every week. Now, the question is, which one of the two would really cater to personal relevance when we're thinking about our public? Most likely, it is about the speaker and the subject, because your audience already knows that on Wednesdays, you have a webinar, a new webinar every week. So what's going to make a difference in more relevant to them personally is the subject and the speaker, because not everybody's interested in the same thing. So how do we create a balance here? Now, I think you've done very well in this poster, Danny, because you have separated these two. You have given one space to the constant part, which is the D71 Wednesday webinars on top, and then the name of the speaker and the title. Personally, I would have inverted. I would have put the title on top and the Wednesday webinars at the bottom. But anyways, you did very well. And plus, you placed this picture, which is a fantastic picture. This is very powerful. This is a professional picture, and this person is looking straight at you. And you place them in the very middle. I'm going to show you how I would change it a little bit to really create a better balance. Now, I have made his picture a little bit bigger and moved it to the left, because right in the middle where it would attract all the attention, and the text kind of fades in the background. In this case, we still keep him central. We still keep him looking at us and strong, but we give also a fair amount of space and attention and a good spot to the title. This title is fantastic, Running a Roadshow. Why didn't I see this? I love this. How to Run a Roadshow in Your Area or Division by James Finnegan, Division B Director. Okay, so that has its own big space, because it's the new part, what's going to happen on November 8th, or has happened in this case on November 8th at 18:30 GMT. And as you can see, I've balanced off all the new part, the new section, with what goes on, it remains constant, by encasing it into a cute silver circle there. And that can stay there. This could become a template, for instance, very easily. You would keep the Wednesday circle there, and you would just change the speakers and the title over there. I think this is a fantastic poster that you've done. I also think that it's 20:51 and that we should stop here. And I would take your questions. Thank you. Well, first of all, Danny, what do you think?
Yes, much improved, much improved. And yeah, I like the idea of it being a template. And I think, yeah, it's a good one. Uroya, you have a question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Paola. Lovely, fantastic examples. A very basic question. Where do you find these exciting and suitable photos?
Well, you mean the stock images?
All the
find
images
them-
we saw, yeah, all the images.
Yeah, they're all stock images and they're all free images. This is very important. I didn't mention it today. I just take it for granted that everybody knows that you cannot just go to the internet and download anything that you find through Google, because you can get in trouble, not only yourself, but your club, your president, and Toastmasters International. Okay, so please do make sure that you use pictures that you can use, and you can find them like on Pexels. I use several websites that where you can download very high quality images. They have millions of them. And of course, Canva as well. I use Canva Pro. And I know it costs maybe 10 euros per month, but it's really worth its weight in gold because it has so much material that you can use for free, and you have all the rights and you're covered. And I usually find them on Canva or on Pexels. Thank you, Jorge.
District Director Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, VQD Danny. Paola, that was amazing. You always are amazing. And we're happy to see you back in District 71. Question for you, the posters. These days, people often add videos to the posters. How does the orientation change if you're going to use a video rather than just a static photo?
I would not choose, I would not change anything, because instead of the photo, you just put the video right there. I would use perhaps not a full image video, but I would use a defined area, like maybe in the Z pattern, one of those 2 Z patterns that I've showed as a defined image in the middle. I would put the video right there, right in the middle, and then the text on top and the bottom.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Marius, over to you.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Paola. That was amazing. I know nothing about this, so really exciting. I'm just wondering, for a portrait poster, would you repeat the Z, or would you stretch it, or how would you do it? Because I think most of your examples were sort of in landscape.
For a portrait, you mean for
Yeah.
a vertical one? Well, for a vertical one, definitely you would want to use the Z, yes, because you wouldn't have enough room to use the F, because you would even really cut the picture. So you would have more room on top and the bottom. I would use the Z.
Okay. And
yes.
would you repeat the Z twice, or would you just stretch it out to do it once?
Why would you repeat it twice? I do not maybe understand the question, because in the Z pattern, you would have a text on top.
Yeah.
Then you would have the image in the middle, and then you would have more text at the bottom, which would work very well for anything that is vertical.
Okay, yeah, I suppose what I was thinking was a portrait is almost like 2 landscapes on top of each other. And would you have like 2 halves of a message, or would you stick to just one message and just spread the Z out over the whole poster?
Do you know, I don't think I understand.
Okay.
I'm not getting it. Sorry, I
I'm
can't answer.
No problem. Sorry, I know I'm using up a lot of time here. I'm going to try and draw it and see if it's possible to show it on the camera. If you can see that.
Okay, yes, I can see it.
Would you do that, or would you leave just one message on the whole poster?
No. I would just use one Z, so one pattern only. I would not repeat it in just one poster.
Okay, thanks very much.
It's very simple. Just put the text on top and text on the bottom, and just use the picture in the middle. People will just start reading on the top. They will, of course, see the picture immediately. They will be drawn in by the picture, have a look on top, and then look at the bottom, because this is how they're going to read it. If you do the two Z's, it's going to get a little bit confusing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marius, for that. Gerard, and then David, and then we will have to wind up. Gerard.
Okay, thank you very much, PKD Danny. Congratulations, Paula, on your presentation. That was inspiring, because I've been to the journey of the district leadership team and know how to create images, posters, and other things like that. But indeed, there's a smile and a great face that I know that did a lot of it in my term. But I know that Danny is PKD this year, and he will be facing into being the district director, hopefully and possibly next year. But where can Danny, and I ask you, Paula, for your recommendation on this, where can Danny find the time, the creativeness, the effeminacy of creating a great poster? Should he have somebody within his remit to help him?
Well, I can answer this from my experience as public relations manager, which I was PRM a couple of years ago. And I think, yes, it would be a very good thing to have someone support you with the creation of posters, have even a team, because it is time consuming. This is what we said in the very beginning. It does take time to create good posters. Of course, now that you know the pattern, you can just create 2 or 3 and then modify those. There is no need to come up with new stuff every time. So that would cut down a little bit on the required time, I would say. What do you think, Danny?
I totally agree. Yes, a team, not me. It would be too slow if I did it. Thank you, Gerard. And finally, David, your question.
Thank you, Danny, and thank you, Paola, for a lovely presentation. Just wanted to say, someone mentioned earlier about the use of videos on posters. 2 of the strongest, most effective posters we ever used in 2 different clubs was word association and a time of year. One of them was a video relating to back to school, with a child simply walking with a school bag and turning and waving. That received thousands of views. And the other was back with a splash, and the Toastmaster falling off a paddleboard into a lake. And that received, again, thousands of views. Literally 15 seconds was the one in the canal or the pond. And the other one was about the same. It had a little quirky music piece, all from Canva. And both of those pieces were prepared in less than 20 minutes. It's more a case of familiarity with Canva and what it has to offer. If you have the pro version, you can use the approved videos and music. So I'd recommend to everybody to try those out. It's really worthwhile.
Absolutely, yes. And also 15 seconds is really a very good time frame for videos. Because people will only, they tend on, so let's talk about social media here. On social media, people will pay attention to videos between 3 to 5 seconds. So there is no use in having 30, 40, maybe even a minute worth of videos. If I ran different campaigns about what they're called testimonial campaigns. And I've always asked people to keep it down to less than 30 seconds. I know it's very difficult, but then the statistics told me that within the first 15 seconds, those videos were actually seen. After 15 seconds, statistics just dropped. So you did good. 15 seconds is an excellent time frame for videos.
Right, thank you very much for that, Paola. We now have to draw it to a close, I'm afraid, and I'm sure there's lots more questions. Firstly, I'd like to thank Gerard for presuming that I am going to be moving on to District Director next year. It's an open competition. Anybody is welcome to join. The more the merrier. But thank you for that, Gerard. Paola, thank you. I know you told me not to take any notes, but I ignored you and did. And I'll watch this video again. You know, every time I see any of your workshops, I always know tons more. Now, I've got a poster to produce in the next few days, so I'll use the principles of what you've taught us tonight and put that into practice. But I think this has been an excellent evening, and you've given us so much to think about and to practice. It's been a very practical evening, so thank you for that. And I forgot to mention at the beginning that you're joining us from Lake Garda in northern Italy, so you are an hour in front of us, so thank you for that as well. So yeah, you're a friend of District 71. And it's good to see you again, and I'm sure we will be seeing you again soon at one of these webinars. So if we would all thank Paola for tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Danny, for inviting me, and it really makes my heart warm to think that I'm a friend of District 71. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for having me, and have a great evening, great night.
Thank you, and thank you. You have a great night, what's left of it.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Night.
Bye.